Hello everyone. Today we would discuss about thyroid hormone. So thyroid gland is a butterfly shaped gland weighing about 20 to 25 grams. It lies in front of trachea as you can see. Then it mainly consists of two lobes, right lobe and the left lobe, which are joined together in the center by isthmus. Now, when we talk about histology, then when the thyroid gland is divided into lobes, the lobes are further divided into lobules, which are further divided into follicles by certain septa. These follicles are the basic functional unit of this gland. It mainly consists of follicular cells, parafollicular cells or the C cells, and the colloids. The parafollicular cells or the C cells secrete calcitonin, which is important for the regulation of calcium hormone. Now the follicular cells are again divided into active follicles and the inactive follicles. And in the center, that is the lumen, is filled with colloid. So as you can see in the diagram on the right side showing the blue color cells, which are the follicular cells, and that whole circular structure is a follicle. Then it is surrounded by arteries and arterioles and capillaries, and at some places there is presence of C cells. Next. Now the follicle is divided into two, resting follicle and the active follicle. In the resting follicle, the epithelium is squamous shaped and it is very thin, but the content of colloid is more. Since it is resting, so at this stage there is no synthesis of thyroid hormone, but all the thyroid hormone that had already been synthesized is stored in the form of colloid, and this colloid is sufficient to meet the body's requirement for about 1 to 3 months. Then in the active follicles, the thyroid hormone synthesis is actively taking place. So the follicular cells are columnar or cuboidal and the content of colloid is less. Next. So as you can see on the top left diagram, again the inactive and the active follicles are shown. On the bottom right diagram, we have just focused on a single follicular cell. From that whole circular follicle, which consists of many follicular cells, we have just focused on a single follicular cell. So in the center, we have the follicle epithelial cell, blue color. On the left side, we have the basolateral membrane. This is the membrane which is facing the arteries or arteriole or the capillary. So from here, all the iodine will enter inside the epithelial cell. Then on the right side, we have the apical membrane, which is facing the lumen, which is filled with colloid. And in this part, there will be actual synthesis. Now the thyroid hormones are mainly T4, T3 and RT3 or the reverse T3. T4 is tetraiodothyronine, 3, 5, 3 prime and 5 prime tetraiodothyronine. T3 is 3, 5 and 3 prime triiodothyronine. RT3 or reverse T3 is 3, 3 prime, 5 prime. Now this is important that the ratio of T4 to T3 is 10:1 in the thyroid gland and also in the peripheral circulation. But in terms of activity, T4 is to T3 is 1:10 or T3 is to T4 is 10:1. That is, T3 is more active than T4, but the concentration in circulation is of T4 more than T3. Next. Now this is the diagram to show the iodine metabolism. The daily requirement of iodine is 100 to 200 micrograms per day. Now we get this iodine from the seafood, like sea fish, etc. And also the areas where the iodine content is more are those areas which are near the sea. So as you move away from sea, like the Himalayan belt, it contains less of iodine. So there the amount of thyroid problems are more. And also nowadays we obtain the iodized salt. So it is very important to consume minimum of 100 to 200 microgram of iodine in a day. Now suppose we obtain 500 microgram of iodine in the diet, then majority of it, that is 120 microgram, enters the thyroid and the rest remains in the extracellular fluid. In the thyroid, there is synthesis of T3 and T4, from which again 80 microgram of T3 and T4 are synthesized, but rest 40 microgram of iodide is again released in the extracellular fluid. Now this 80 microgram of T3, T4 enters in liver and other tissues, where again they are further metabolized, and 60 microgram of iodide is further released in extracellular fluid. Rest enters into bile, and 20 microgram is excreted in the stool. Now this extracellular fluid content therefore now will add up to 40 plus 60, that is 100, and from 500 120 was absorbed, so remaining was 380. So 380 plus 100 gives us 480. So this 480 microgram of iodide is excreted in urine. So this is how the daily iodine metabolism occurs, and the minimum requirement of iodine is 100 to 200 microgram. And the seafood is rich in iodine. Also certain other foods like the dairy products. Next. Now when we talk about synthesis of thyroid hormone, it mainly consists of 6 steps. The first step of this is iodide trapping. Now iodide, that is I minus, its trapping occurs. This is an active process because obviously the amount of iodide in the circulation is more. Since we consume it, then from GIT it enters into the circulation. Now when this artery or the capillary enters the thyroid gland or near the thyroid follicle, so more amount of iodide is present on the basolateral side compared to the cytoplasm of the follicular cell. Ratio is 30:1, so it is an active process and it is controlled by TSH or thyroid stimulating hormone, which is released from anterior pituitary. Now mainly this NIS, as you can see on the diagram on the right side, first step is the sodium potassium ATP is formed. This is a primary active transport. So due to which a gradient for sodium will be created inside the cytoplasm, as it pumps 3 sodium out and 2 potassium inside. Now due to the gradient created for the sodium, the NIS symporter, sodium iodide symporter, will work when both sodium and iodide will bind to it, and there will be secondary active transport, and iodide will enter inside the cytoplasm of the follicular cell. Now this pump NIS is inhibited by thiocyanates and perchlorates, which are used in treatment of hyperthyroidism. Next. Second step is the synthesis and secretion of thyroglobulin. Now inside the follicular cytoplasm, from the endoplasmic reticulum, it will use the amino acids and tyrosine to form thyroglobulin, which is then processed in the Golgi apparatus to form vesicles. Now these vesicles containing thyroglobulin are released by exocytosis into the follicular lumen. Now 140 tyrosine residues are present on one thyroglobulin molecule. So this is how synthesis of thyroglobulin occurs. Now the next step. Next. So the third step is the oxidation of iodide to iodine. Now this oxidation of iodide to iodine occurs at the apical membrane. That is the membrane which is facing the lumen of the follicle. Now as the iodide enters inside the cytoplasm, it immediately moves out through the apical membrane with the help of a pendrin transporter. Now this pendrin transporter was discovered in patients of Pendred syndrome, and they mainly had 5 types of symptoms. First of which was deafness and the other was thyroid disorder. Now this iodide moves into the apical membrane and immediately here with the help of peroxidase enzyme, it is converted into iodine, that is I2, and H2O2 is formed. With the help of pendrin transporter, iodide enters into the lumen and chloride in turn enters into the cytoplasm. Now this pendrin is inhibited by propyl thiouracil, PTU, and thiourea, but this step is stimulated by TSH. And in thyroid gland only iodide is converted into iodine. At no other place in the body there is oxidation of iodide. And whatever we consume is in the form of iodide. Next. Now the fourth step is organification of thyroglobulin or iodination. Now this again occurs with the help of thyroid peroxidase. Now the tyrosine is iodinated first at third position to form monoiodotyrosine, that is MIT. Then at fifth position to form DIT, that is diiodotyrosine. So iodine couples with, after iodination, it forms I2, then it combines with thyroglobulin. This is known as iodination to form MIT or DIT. And all these steps will occur in the lumen of the thyroid follicle. Then the next step is coupling, that is MIT will combine with DIT to form T3 and 2-DIT will combine to form T4. So in T4 we have 4 iodine groups. So DIT contains 2 iodine groups. So 2-DIT will combine to form 4, that is T4. MIT contains 1 iodine group, monoiodotyrosine. So it will combine with DIT to form T3 or the triiodotyrosine. Now all these are stored along with thyroglobulin in the colloid, and this can meet the body's requirement for 1 to 3 months. So all these 6 steps are involved in the synthesis of thyroid hormone. Next. So this is how the coupling is occurring. The thyroglobulin, after combining with tyrosine and active iodine, then it forms MIT, monoiodotyrosine and diiodotyrosine. Then again a DIT molecule will attach to both. So MIT and DIT combine to form T3 or triiodothyronine, and DIT combine to form thyroxine or T4, that is tetraiodothyronine. Now initially they are attached with thyroglobulin, but on proteolysis they are released as free, T3 and T4. Next. Now after the synthesis of thyroid hormone, there is hormone secretion. Now for the secretion, the first step is the endocytosis or pinocytosis. That is, there will be entry of this colloid inside the cytoplasm as colloid droplet with the help of Magellan transporters or the Magellan receptor. As you can see on the diagram in the right, the green color receptors are the Magellan receptors. So all these thyroglobulin containing the MIT, DIT, T3 and T4 joins with the Magellan receptor. There is endocytosis of this colloid droplet. It will move further in the cytoplasm with the help of microtubules and microfilaments. Then there will be proteolysis with the help of proteases and dehydrogenases. Proteases will result in MIT, DIT, T3 and T4 to be free from thyroglobulin, and deiodinase will act on MIT and DIT to release the iodine from them and to form tyrosine again. Then finally there will be secretion of T3 and T4. Next. So in this diagram, all the steps have been shown together. So the first step was iodide trapping with the help of sodium iodide symporter as shown by number 1. Then the red color shows the number 2, that is synthesis of thyroglobulin. As we can see, tyrosine enters the endoplasmic reticulum. Processing occurs in the Golgi apparatus to form thyroglobulin, which is released in the lumen with the help of exocytosis. Then the third step is iodide is converted into iodine, and this iodide enters inside the lumen with the help of pendrin transporter, where peroxidase acts on it and it is immediately converted into iodine, I2. Now this I2 will combine with thyroglobulin. There will be coupling, iodination and coupling, that is the fourth and fifth step as shown by green color. Then there will be storage, that is the sixth step, and with Tg, that is thyroglobulin, there will be MIT, DIT, T3, RT3 and T4. So till here is the synthesis and storage. Then when the secretion starts, then the seventh step occurs, that is pinocytosis or the cell drinking. So now the colloid droplet enters inside the cytoplasm of the thyroid follicle or the follicular cell with the help of Magellan receptors. Now the colloid droplet will be formed, and then proteases will act on it to free T3, T4, MIT and DIT from this colloid droplet. T3, T4 will be secreted out, that is the 10th step, by exocytosis, and on MIT, DIT, there will be deiodination with the help of deiodinases, that is the 9th step, and free iodide and tyrosine will again be released. Now this iodide will again enter into the cycle and the tyrosine will form thyroglobulin. So this is the complete synthesis and secretion of thyroid hormone. Next. So here the basic structure is shown. Initially we have tyrosine, which is present in the thyroglobulin molecule, and at third position single iodine attaches to form MIT. Then at fifth position again iodine attaches to form DIT. MIT and DIT combine to form T3, that is triiodothyronine 3, 5 and 3 prime. Then again DIT will combine with DIT to form T4 or thyroxine, that is tetraiodothyronine, and RT3 or reverse T3 is 3, 3 prime, 5 prime triiodothyronine. Next. So this table is just to brief about the steps we had just discussed. So synthesis of thyroglobulin and its exclusion into the follicular lumen occurs at endoplasmic reticulum and Golgi apparatus. Iodide pump, that is for the iodide trapping, occurring with the help of sodium iodide symporter, was at basal membrane. Its inhibitors are perchlorate and thiocyanates. Then oxidation of iodide to iodine with the help of peroxidase. It was occurring at the apical membrane. Again, its inhibitor is propyl thiouracil. Organification of iodine into MIT and DIT, that is the iodination of thyroglobulin, again with the help of peroxidase at apical membrane. Inhibitor is PTU or propyl thiouracil. The coupling reaction of MIT and DIT into T3 and T4, again at apical membrane. Inhibitor is PTU, propyl thiouracil, of the enzyme peroxidase. Next. So organification, again at apical membrane, we just discussed all these. Now the endocytosis of thyroglobulin at apical membrane. Now finally the proteolysis or the hydrolysis that is occurring, it occurs in lysozymes with the help of proteases, and the deiodination occurs with the help of deiodinases. Next. So now the transport, it occurs with the help of thyroid binding globulin, thyroid binding albumin, then pre-albumin or transthyretin, and the free form is the biologically active form. So bound form is 99.95% of T4 and 99.5% of T3. Whereas the free form, that is biologically active form, is 0.05% of T4 and 0.5% of T3. That is, again the ratio is 10:1, T3 is to T4 in terms of activity.